Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Capitol Hill Business Alliance Community Conversation. My name is Ahi Martin McSweeney. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the CHBA Program Manager. I'm super excited to have you here today and to be able to facilitate this inaugural community conversation. So during our time together, we want to introduce the Capitol Hill Business Alliance, give you some idea of needs and issues that we have identified, and then also let you have some time to ask your questions and bring up topics relevant to you and your businesses and the community that we love, Capitol Hill. I do want to take a quick moment to just go over how our time will unfold together. So just so you are aware, you probably saw the prompt when you logged in, but we are recording this session and that will post to our archives for future viewing. As titled, this is a community conversation, so we would love to see your smiling face if you are comfortable with that. But of course, feel free just to have audio if you prefer. For the beginning portion of today's hour-long segment, we ask that all mics remain muted, and we will introduce the program, we will introduce ourselves, and then we'll cover some hot topics. After that, we'll open up the floor for questions that you have, and so that you can tell us about needs you've encountered as we go about recovering from this last pandemic year. Feel free to drop questions in the chat box during the speaking portion, and we'll address those first when we move into Q&A. If you prefer to speak to the group, then go ahead and indicate that by using the raise your hand feature. And when appropriate, the CHBA team will call on you, request your mic be unmuted, and offer you the room. We do ask that today's questions remain a little bit more general to better fit, our audience and Capitol Hill as a whole. If you do have a really specific question, always feel free to reach out to me, and I will do my very best to get your question answered or connect you with the best people to do that. You can see in my little nifty background here, my email, and also my phone number will be available at the end if you ever need to contact me. Okay, so that's how it looks today. And now we get to go ahead and talk about what is the Capitol Hill Business Alliance. So some of you may be familiar with the Capitol Hill Chamber of Commerce that existed prior to the Business Alliance. We basically just took up where they left off in 2019, I believe, and then had 2020, which was all its own special universe, as all of you know. So the Capitol Hill Business Alliance is a program of the GSBA, which is Washington State's LGBTQ+ and allied Chamber of Commerce. As a program of the GSBA, we have all the benefits and supports of a larger chamber, but we get to focus on the specific needs of Capitol Hill. And we are dedicated to ensuring a healthy, vibrant, and diverse business community. We recognize that this is done through intentional relationship building that acknowledges all of the components of a neighborhood. That includes businesses, nonprofits, educational institutions, neighbors, community members of all kinds. So we're not just business hyper-focused, right? We are a whole community. We have an advisory board made up of small business owners and managers, and they ensure that we stay true to our goals relevant to our neighborhood and help us keep an eye towards future opportunities. I'd like to take this next few minutes to go ahead and let our advisory board members introduce themselves. And we're going to go ahead and start with Linda Deleo-Morton, who is our board chair.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited for this, finally, to get together with you all. I am Linda Deleo-Morton, and I co-own Terra Plata with my partner, Tamara Murphy, and our new restaurant that hopefully will finally open after 3 years in the making, La Mania, and of course, chair of the Capitol Hill Business Alliance. We're so excited to finally be connecting with all of you.
All right, Christy, you get to go next.
Good morning. My name is Christy Lillian Opal, and I own Laughing Buddha Tattoo and Body Piercing, and have been on this board for, well, since it started. And I used to be on the Capitol Hill Broadway BIA board until my business moved off of there. And I've been on these boards because I've realized that getting involved is the best way to be a part of change and improving the world around me, and of course, meeting amazing people. thanks for being here.
Danny, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danny Cohn. I'm the owner of Cohn & Steiner, and really excited to be here, excited to be kicking off our first community conversation with everybody. And it has been a long time coming, and just excited about the things that the CHBA is doing and what we can do, and what we'll hopefully hear from you all about more that we can do. And just like Christy said, I think you said it perfectly, Christy, that I agree. I mean, the more that you take, or we all take, an active role in our communities, the more that the community builds and gets stronger. And I love our neighborhood, and I love having a business here and living here and getting to be on this board and an active member of the previous chamber and GSBA, et cetera. And so looking forward to next steps. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Danielle.
Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Holton, and I'm the owner of Ada's Technical Books and Cafe and also Fuel Coffee. And I feel like everybody's already said, I'm also very excited to be here. I'm excited for this first event that we're having. I also was a member of the Capitol Hill Chamber, and I think for me, I mean, in addition to building community and meeting wonderful people, you know, as Danny said, I also really love our neighborhood. I also really love all parts of our neighborhood. So I really, I try as much as I can to be an active advocate for every section of the neighborhood while we're meeting at board meetings, and also reaching out to new business owners. Part of the reason why I joined the Capitol Hill Chamber a very long time ago was I was a new business owner, and I was looking to make connections and kind of figure out my way. And this has been a really wonderful way to do it. And I'm looking forward to helping others on their journey in the Hill. And our neighborhood's just really great with strong independent businesses, and I love being part of that.
Awesome. And finally, I think we have Samuel.
Hi, Samuel Hilbert here with the Lowell Sellers. I use he, him pronouns. Really excited to be a part of this today. Lowell Sellers is not new to the Alliance, but I am. So I've only been on the Alliance now for about a day. So very new here. But Alex, my partner, who's also partner at Lowell Sellers and my partner in everything in life, it was the former chair of the Alliance. So we've been very involved with this. We live, work, play, and own our business on Capitol Hill. So it's been a very important part for us to have the community. Since I moved to Seattle, Capitol Hill's been the spot I spent the most time in my life for the last 15 years. So I'm really excited to be part of the business community, as well as just all aspects of the community up here on the Hill. So excited to be part of this.
Awesome. Thank you all. We also do have a couple of additional members that weren't able to make it here today. And they are Ben Jones, who manages the Starbucks on Olive Way, and Ravi Bo, who manages the First Security Bank Capitol Hill branch. And like I said, like, these advisory board members take time out of their busy lives and schedules just to help us stay true to our goals and to see what's going on. They're really like our eyes and ears on the ground here. I mean, I am also up here, but we lean heavily on just their experiences and their guidance and their the context that they provide, because these are the business members that make up Capitol Hill. Where do we get to go next? Sorry. Okay, so we get to hear a little bit more from our advisory board members, because we are going to address a couple of really broad topics that the CHBA is looking at and mindful of and aware of as we move through pandemic reopening. So our first topic that we want to kind of bring to you all is about community, and Christy, Lily, and Opal is going to take us through that.
Okay, thank you. It's really important to us that we build the community, because that's pretty much why this exists. And currently, a key component of that is to work with everyone to successfully survive the pandemic and gear up through the reopening. And we help to build support for everyone through that. One of the ways that we're doing that is building a subcommittee. It's a bi-monthly advisory subcommittee that represents the broader community beyond the business owners. So neighbors, nonprofits, faith groups, and people like that. This group's in the process of being formed now. There's also programs, one of which is the Community Conversations. It's a place to assemble voices and keep up on current issues and share ideas with everyone that lives here and works here. Another one is called Hill Talk, and it's a quarterly mixer that will hopefully begin in September or October of this year. And that will be an in-person event at a neighborhood venue. It'll involve a feature speaker or speakers, and then plenty of time to connect and network face-to-face, finally, hopefully. And then connecting businesses to customers. So providing marketing opportunities like member spotlights and facilitating collaborations, activations, pop-ups, and relationships between people that are in the community and working here.
Awesome. The next category that we definitely want to bring to the forefront here is the business category. And we've got Danny and Danielle who are going to share a little bit about that.
Great, thank you. I'll kick it off, and I'm thrilled to share this category with Danielle, of course. So I'll speak more broadly to kind of the business part, and then Danielle will share some specifics. But broadly speaking, I feel that first and foremost, the main purpose of the CHBA is to be really a center and a go-to resource for and alongside Capitol Hill businesses and our community. And this means being, as we all do, being a part of the community every day as we operate our businesses, as we bring up issues, see issues, and most importantly, as we're able to listen and hear from others what's going on, and try and have a means and a kind of a clearinghouse to do something about that. Danielle and I both were on the Capitol Hill Chamber of Commerce board for a bazillion years. And so both of us felt that, you know, as committed as we are to the neighborhood and our businesses, what we loved about that was that, you know, it was such a hub of that sort of communication and a resource for businesses and others, and a great way to foster connections too. And so part of the CHBA, again, broadly speaking, is about creating these, providing the resources, listening, and creating connections on all sides, with businesses, with schools, with the hospitals, faith-based organizations, and residents as well. And that can mean anything from sharing resources or issues, or commiserating about horror stories of the past year, I'm sure. And even making connections and networking, you know, and creating collaborations, like I've had a great opportunity to do with Samuel, who you just met from Alul Cellars. We got to collaborate on doing an exclusive wine with Alul and Conan Steiner. And it's those kind of things that just bring us together for business, but also for community. And then Danielle will hit on some of the specifics about CHBA too.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Yeah. So yeah, some of the big bullet points that we're looking at focusing on over the next year and beyond. The first one is business support. Like Danny said, I think, you know, in general, why does CHBA exist? It's to support business on the Hill. And we have a lot of different ideas of how to do that. And we're looking forward to, you know, doing these community conversations and hearing your ideas as well. And I think that one thing that's really amazing about our neighborhood is that it is so diverse and it's so large. And so we have found, or I feel that an organization like the CHBA is really essential for business support on the Hill, for that economic vitality and growth. And then for the next, you know, however long it takes, hopefully not too much longer. Well, who knows? But a big focus in the near future around pandemic recovery or continuation or help in this last year, and some ideas that we have that we could help with would be helping with staffing issues. You know, we could help elevate job postings either through the CHBA or even through the GSBA. Ideas of like partnering with local schools. There's two Seattle Central, Seattle U, two universities on the Hill that we could perhaps help elevate job postings and plug folks, the job seekers, into local jobs. And then helping with the American recovery. ACT funding, the ARPA funding. We're still kind of figuring out how that will work and what we can do with it, but we've already participated in listening sessions, and we're going to work with the city to disseminate info as it becomes available. So making sure that we're all really plugged into what's going on and how we can most, move forward with the support that's available. And then also, a very specific one to Capitol Hill, I feel like, is the open street sidewalk cafes, really getting a barometer on how are businesses feeling about, like, is this something we want? Do we want to continue this? Do we want to advocate for more? Like Linda will talk a little bit about advocacy, or is it something that we want to like negotiate around? Are the businesses and neighbors saying, maybe we want to do something different, and like really being that central listening area and advocacy for really specific things. And then a little bit more generally, a couple more general things, doing things like member spotlights, which I'm really excited about, especially with new businesses, welcoming folks to the neighborhood, featuring them in our newsletter and the GSBA newsletter and programming. I think that's a really great thing. And I'm excited about exploring the different ways that we can welcome new businesses to the Hill. And then also connecting business owners to each other, which Danny already touched on a little bit, but that's a really important part of these community conversations and the Hill Talks, and just in general, being that support of, welcoming a new business, connecting them to folks that are their neighbors or in a similar industry or whatever, just being that connecting ground for business owners. And that is all. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much in the business category, right? Because we're all like, we're businesses, like we gotta, and then the recovery we're like reopening, but are we? Oh no, I don't know. So just continuing to really be able to be nimble in the time of like immense uncertainty, even though we're all really optimistic, like there is still that component of like, we don't know. We're hopeful, but we don't know. So finally, last category, advocacy. Go ahead, Linda.
Unmute there. Hi, everybody. So yeah, I feel like, everything's obviously very interconnected. One great thing about having the GSBA be our parent organization is the GSBA works tirelessly and has Matt Landers as well with the GSBA on advocacy work when it comes to like small business advocacy work and advocacy work for social justice issues and things like that. But and of course, I'm on the board of the policy council with the GSBA, but when it comes to the Capitol Hill Business Alliance, we want to make sure that we're getting more granular and addressing issues that affect the Capitol Hill neighborhood and our businesses within the Capitol Hill neighborhood. So, and it encompasses a lot of things, and a lot of times issues come up, and having this collaboration and also the community, all of us, working together. And when issues come up for one of us, quite often it's an issue for more than just one of us that we can address and try to make a sustainable fix with our city and state and county electeds and officials. And so that can take on a lot of different things. And things on our radar right now are construction and maintenance impacts that either shut down our businesses or shut down the utilities or make it hard for people to come to our business. There's been years where we've seen different things go on. There was quite a few years ago on 23rd that was a ginormous issue. And then a couple of us, Danielle and I, had issues with SPU shutting down our utilities on a Friday night going into a Saturday. And in Danielle's case, it was an entire weekend. And it's like, hello, like in a business district that's a street facing a coffee shop to not be able to open on Saturday and Sunday mornings. So things like that, we don't want to just address that one issue at that one time, but hear from you all, like what is happening, being sort of our eyes and ears, and when you see something or something happens, communicate to us, and let's see if we can get some either policy changes or permanent fixes, or at least our electeds and our city being accountable to what they're doing to our businesses, especially while we're in COVID recovery, which is it just adds even more fuel to the fire. The things like the curb use issues, the streeteries, like taking our temporary streeteries and making them permanent, like, you know, it's definitely happening in Ballard. Do we want Capitol Hill to be like what Ballard is becoming, or do we want it to be different? Obviously, different business models have different ideas about what's best for them, but like, how do we make the neighborhood, the neighborhoods and the neighborhoods within the Capitol Hill greater neighborhood vibrant and just, you know, better for everybody. And then things like bike lanes. I know that we found out the bike lanes were going up Pike Street after it was permitted, after they started work, you know, and so why didn't we know ahead of time? And really good question as to why. So things like that. Certainly resources with COVID recovery, any other opportunities that, you know, we've had a few grants between the state and the city helping our small businesses, but continuing to work with, you know, the state, the county, and the city to make sure that, you know, our needs are actually being addressed and that there's equity in that. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I think that's about it right now in terms of what's on our radar. But I think what's awesome that we're starting the community conversations is it's really helpful for all of us to, when anything comes up, you know, big or small, to chime in and let us know, and let's talk about it and see if we can, you know, advocate for some permanent solutions that will make things better for everybody.
Yeah, and I think, Linda, you kind of hit it on the head, right? Like, we are here to collect the voices and elevate the voices and really make sure that our business owners are connected to other decision makers and policy makers, so that we can be making the best decisions and policies for our neighborhood, right? As that fits into the larger structure of the city.
And I'll just add, I know it's repetition, but really the communication that we all have with each other and in this platform and with our network is everything to address things. Because so oftentimes, you know, we've all been there where we start our small business and it can be overwhelming at times. It's some of the things that we have to deal with or that we get bombarded with. And it's just so helpful, even if we just have other people that understand the struggle of a small business owner, and to even talk to help come up with solutions. And sometimes it'll turn into some things that are advocacy. Sometimes it turns into things that resources that we provide for each other and organize it in a format, you know, with the CHBA so that it can help everybody when they have a similar challenge or a similar need. So I just want to reiterate that the communication and the networking and the advocacy part all go hand in hand with each other. And it's kind of up to us to, you know, bring it to the group and talk about it and see if we can find solutions to things.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Linda, for sharing, and Danielle and Danny for covering business, and Christy for opening us up with community. It's really valuable to hear from you all and to see how these kind of components make up the potential that CHBA has and maybe the reach that we can, working together, we can have. So that was like our program part of the community conversations, which is cool because now we get to actually have a conversation. So if you all have questions that you would like, or issues that you would like to bring up, this is the time. You can drop them in the chat box, or you can raise your hand with, not literally, I mean, you could, but with the little raise hand function, that's going to be the easiest for us to see you. And I did notice that a question was dropped already in the chat box by Dewey. Has anyone ever brought up issues with Rhino Room? And I would love to hear a little bit more about what you mean, if you're comfortable elaborating a little bit.
Sure. And that question is based from a non-business owner standpoint, just as a resident of Seattle, a shopper of Seattle. I think, as Sam said, live, work, party on Capitol Hill. And I've just noticed over the last few years, pretty much the day Rhino Room moved in, they attracted a lot of issues up onto Capitol Hill. And I consistently hear from a lot of patrons and community members on Capitol Hill that the business and or their patrons are extremely homophobic. I myself have been attacked by patrons of Rhino Room coming out of Rhino Room using the F word as a slur as they walk out the door onto a rainbow sidewalk. This is my first meeting coming to these meetings. And I just didn't know if anyone had ever talked about Rhino Room and their impact on the community. Somebody was talking about advocating earlier, and like, are we advocating for residents of the area in the way that Rhino Room runs their business and the patrons that they are attracting?
Thank you for elaborating on that. That is not a topic that I have come across personally yet, but I do think that it fits into the broader topic of community safety. And that is definitely something that is in need of specific solutions for our neighborhood, right? Because we do have such a diverse makeup of residents and patrons, that it's really important that we're making sure that we have a safe and welcoming space for them. I know that the Broadway BIA was holding safety, safe and clean kind of sounding board types of meetings, but those have stopped. I'm not totally sure why, but CHBA is definitely hoping to take up where they left off and build out some of our community safety initiatives. So definitely a topic we would hope to address. I'm curious if there are particular things that you would like to see aside from contacting the business owners or building relationships with them, if there's a specific solution that you think would be relevant.
I think that would be the first approach to a solution. I don't have a kick them off the hill solution. Love business, love bringing business to Capitol Hill. In the line of my questioning, I didn't know if they're in any community outreach. I don't know if they're involved with the Capitol Hill Business Association. I don't believe they're involved with the GSBA. I don't know if they are advocating for the community members. I don't know anything about the business other than how they act and how they outwardly perceive themselves. And that visual image or that interaction has been really negative in my experience and a lot of other people's experiences.
We got some interesting noises coming through.
I think somebody is not on mute.
Yeah, let's just double check that we're on mute. Dewey, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Dewey? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I really appreciate you bringing up this topic. And it is absolutely something that I think the CHBA can work to address and find some good solutions for us. It will definitely be an ongoing process, as I'm sure all of you know. Safety on Capitol Hill is
never ending.
Yeah, exactly. Did any other advisory board folks want to chime in on this?
Well, I think one thing that we could start out with is, and it could be through the GSBA or the CHBA or both, but to consider like contacting them and just reaching out in terms of like member engagement with the GSBA and member engagement with the CHBA, and just at least start a dialogue with them and just kind of see where they're at. I don't know them at all. And you know, we're not on that part of the hill, so I haven't seen what you've seen, but maybe another first step is just to reach out to the business and, you know, try to see if they're willing to be engaged with us and or the GSBA for starters, and just see where they're at.
I just wanted to chime in real quick and say, yeah, I also agree, and I think Dewey, you had mentioned it too, that you know, if they're already engaged, we should. I mean, the first step should be reaching out, yes, in some way, shape, or form, and seeing if, you know, are these concerns that the owners are aware of or not? Is this brand new news to them? Like, oh my God, what happened at our place? I'm guessing it's not, but I don't know. But start that conversation and see then, okay, is there something we could do, the CHBA, to help support them in making a safer place? Do they need better security? Do they need more? I don't know what it is. And I don't know them either, but yeah, starting that conversation certainly would be the first step, and something that's a great example of exactly what this organization, the CHBA, is here to do. And that's something we can do. And I also just want to jump in and say huge thanks to Dewey for bringing that up, because that is the perfect example of, I mean, this is our first meeting doing this and our first community conversation too. And you brought up, you know, with, I'm sorry, it's from a place of concern, and I hate what's happened to you there, but thank you for bringing it up and voicing that and giving us the opportunity to say, okay, great, what can we do now? We have an opportunity to do something, we'll do something. So thank you for bringing that up, and I think it's a great example of what we're here for.
Yeah, that's
Does anyone know where we're at with the Safe Places program? You know, that was started like 5 or 6 years ago.
that's on my list to untangle.
Yeah, it started with a LGBTQ police officer that started that program. But that might be something.
That's where the stickers originated, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems the perfect thing to
I've
address,
actually gotten backlash for having that sticker on my business from people.
because it's an SPD sticker, or
Yes, because it's associated with the police department.
right. Well intentioned, but
Yeah, yeah. What other kinds of questions or topics or issues do folks have for us? I've got a couple of different questions for you all if we need to grease up our brains a little bit and get moving. I know my coffee just started to hit me, so I'm not firing on all cylinders yet. I think, I mean, this kind of goes along with the first question that Dewey had, but like, what are some of the biggest challenges that our small business owners or residents are facing on the Hill right now? Advisory board, please feel free to jump in and offer your experiences as well. I've got a question about, is there a CHBA directory from Desiree? Yes, there definitely is. It lives on the GSBA website under the CHBA little icon. That directory, anyone represented in the GSBA big directory is also, or in the CHBA little directory is also represented in the GSBA big directory. So that's where you would want to go for that info. Dewey dropped a comment regarding like our unhoused neighbors and how is that impacting our businesses and our patrons.
Yeah, I don't mind like talking just a little tiny bit about it. I think that you're doing a great job at identifying a lot of things we're kind of working on, which I really, really appreciate. I think our unhoused neighbors are a very important part of our discussions and also of our business life, and just kind of like support. I mean, the lens that I take with it, so my Ada's Technical Books and Cafe is on 15th, and then my Capitol Hill Fuel location is on 19th. And the lens that I take on it is that those folks are part of my neighborhood. Like there are folks that live on 15th that I see every day and that are really part of the vibrancy of 15th, and like really trying to like get to know them, but also making sure that they're getting like services that are helpful to them, you know. And I think I will say, like, I do not have a very clear and straight answer, but I do know that as a community on Capitol Hill, that talking about like the best way forward, like how do we get some social services? How do we interact with our neighbors in a really genuine way that is helpful and not harmful? And what does that look like? And also, what does it look like to support the businesses too? Because that we are a business alliance. So how can we help the businesses in their day-to-day operations? I'm not quite sure what type of business you're part of, Dewey, but like for us with bookstore, cafe, or a coffee shop, you know, we're open to the public. We interact with folks a lot, and often like we're kind of like the first line of defense. I think sometimes like we interact with our neighbors really frequently, and how can we have support for my staff who are not trained social workers, who are not trained, you know, like, so these are questions that I have asked over the last maybe 10 years, and I have some answers, trying to, you know, form micro neighborhoods where, you know, the folks on 15th, we can all the business owners are talking amongst each other so that we can like help support each other. But I'm definitely interested in the CHBA plugging in some additional resources for business owners, whether that's in actual like support on the streets or training for our staff or a phone number to call. We've had some different iterations of that over the years, and I know that it's changed a lot in the last year. So I think part of our task, not to put words in everyone's mouth, but part of our task is to investigate what is the best for us and how can we really truly provide support for our business network and care about our community and our neighborhood.
When I was on the Broadway BIA board, which was over a year ago now, we were working with an organization where we could call somebody that was trained to come help people and give them assistance without getting the police involved. And I'm searching all over their website and I can't find anything about it anymore, but I think that it would be really beneficial for us to reach out and connect with the BIA again and make sure that everybody has that phone number if that's still something that they are, or an organization that they're still working with.
What was the organization, Christy?
Oh, the Broadway BIA. Oh, the organization that they were working with? I don't remember the name. That's why I was looking on the website and I can't find anything about it, but I can reach out to them and see if they're still doing that.
Well, I think this underscores a little bit of something that the CHBA hopes to address in terms of consistency and longevity of programs. I think especially hearing from folks who have been on Capitol Hill for a significant period of time in any part of the community, we see programs rise up and then kind of collapse for lack of organization or lack of funding or whatever the issue is. And CHBA is very interested in building lasting infrastructure, right? And that's one of the benefits, again, that we gain from having the GSBA sort of umbrella us, is that we will hopefully and ideally be able to, not everything will last forever, but at least put in the bones of things so that we can carry on, right? Because we all have some kind of story or recollection of, oh, this cool program opened up or started or began, and then it died or it dissipated. So we hope to assist with the longevity of some of these things as we continue to creatively problem solve for our neighborhood. Oh, unmute. Okay. So what other topics, I mean, continuing the conversation, what other topics are on folks' mind that they are interested in their neighborhood chamber addressing?
I have something, since no one's raising their hand. I mean, it doesn't necessarily relate to homelessness at all, but there's been more public safety issues than there was before COVID. And we've had a number of different kinds of issues. I mean, the typical one where somebody with mental health issues, like walking up to people eating on the street and taking their food or yelling at them or whatever is one. But then we've had a couple of different ones that are more problematic. Like we had somebody that was inebriated, waving a gun around, yelling at somebody. They were literally 5 feet from our open doors that open all the way, the restaurant all the way up to the sidewalk. So that was scary. And then we had an incident where we actually had somebody also, not sure like the extent of their mental health issues, because they seemed okay, but then they weren't, and they assaulted one of our female servers, like literally hit her. And I just, the worst thing is to call the police and to go through all that and wait for them to show up. But I do think that some sort of resources for the businesses on helping to train our staff on how to deal with different situations, not just who to call, but literally how to deal with different situations like that, I think would be really helpful. I think it's something that we can work on trying to get some answers and some training and whatever the organization was that Christy dealt with, or ways to deal with issues as they come up, especially if they can inflict harm on the people that are working on our businesses.
Linda, I think that's a great point, and I'll just add as a slight side note that one of the things we found, our other store here where I'm at now is in Pioneer Square, and one of the things that we've had the benefit of getting to participate in, I think that was put on by the Alliance for Pioneer Square, was offering de-escalation support and training, but I say that somewhat broadly, like not, I mean, somewhat. Some de-escalation workshops, I guess I'll say, that the Alliance organized that that was open to all of the businesses around here and any of our staff that wanted to participate, just to give some tools and tips and techniques. And so connecting with, for the CHBA to connect with, a somewhat analogous organization like the Alliance for Pioneer Square, we might be able to share resources with them and see, okay, I don't offhand recall who they did that with, but we can easily find out. And similar to what Christy was talking about here in Pioneer Square, we are in the radius of the, I feel like it's called the MID, is that right? Metropolitan Improvement District folks. So when there are if issues come up with folks and we don't want to call the police, then we can call the MID number, and those folks can come and assist in some ways. There's some limitations, et cetera, but those are some resources that we could look into and programs that we might be able to adapt to the Capitol Hill community as well.
Yeah, to carry on with that train of thought, I know that one of the things that I'm doing within our program and work is trying to connect with other community organizers in specific neighborhoods. So something that has risen up in the last year in this Chinatown International District is things like community watches, or I think helping folks get home, or cleanup days, or resources around how to get rid of graffiti and things like that. And so I'm trying to get a meeting organized to see that what is it from other neighborhoods, what sorts of initiatives and programs have they been able to build out. Chinatown International District also has done de-escalation trainings of some sort, and so to take kind of the learnings and experiences that have been built already and either adjust them to fit our neighborhood or figure out how we can incorporate them into what our businesses are asking for. So on a little bit, sorry, I'm in my chat box going. I gotta learn how to do this a little bit better. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody. So to lighten it a tiny bit, I did want to get a little bit of a read on like, what are folks looking forward to in the coming year? Like, do you have exciting things going on in your businesses or in your like little strip of the neighborhood that are, you know, that we can highlight and call out and look forward to? What's going on that front? Pride. Okay, I have to say on that topic, Dewey, you're like an amazing facilitator, by the way. Facilitate through chat box. It's amazing. I love that this year we get to have Pride for like 4 months. I mean, it's sort of magical. And it got to be like a new and different envisioning, like non-corporate, a little bit grassroots, a little bit, right? So that's been really, really cool to watch. Other comments, observations around that particular topic or other topics?
On the topic of Pride, so I know Seattle is lucky enough to have 2 organizations that run independently of each other while collaborating with each other. So Pride Fest, I believe, is scheduled for the last weekend of September, and then Seattle Pride is scheduled for the first weekend in October. Is that correct? Because last I heard, the parade was being moved to kind of a more open air walkabout space on Capitol Hill. I don't know if they're doing the Broadway walkabout space that they had done pre-2020. But if you guys have any updates or know about what's going on from a business perspective or street closure perspectives.
So if I'm correct, Pride Fest, which is led by Egan O'Ryan,
Yes,
did announce the dates for last weekend of September being the big Pride Fest. I haven't heard anything yet about a Pride parade, or if Seattle Pride, you know, is doing a bigger activation. Have other community members heard about something like that? Okay, it doesn't, yeah. So as far as we know, Pride Fest is definitely happening in September, but I've not come across the October dates yet. That would be something that we would definitely have, you know, either reflected in our newsletter or maybe on our social media as like a, hey, heads up kind of thing. But I've not seen anything about it yet.
I just Googled it and it looks like the dates are October 9th and 10th.
For
but
Pride
that's
Fest?
Seattle Pride.
But Seattle Pride, not for Pride Fest, but for Seattle Pride.
Okay.
And
That's news to me too. I hadn't heard
yeah,
that.
I didn't know either. And then I literally just Googled it and that's what it.
I didn't realize that had been rescheduled, but maybe, but that is certainly something we can reach out and connect and get more information on so that it can be in the newsletter, et cetera, and on the site, you know, and let's.
I'm on their
figure out-
Facebook page.
Okay.
The Facebook page says September 4th and 5th, 2021.
Oh, really?
That's Pride Fest.
Oh,
Yes,
that's Pride Fest.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then Seattle Pride is October 9th and 10th. So I guess they're like a month apart. We can celebrate all month long.
Great. Maybe we can, we'll follow up and maybe get some more information on that so we can have a clear understanding of both.
Mhm.
Yeah, and as far as street closures or neighborhood impacts or even opportunities or calls for vendors or performers, I mean, we would want to be connecting folks to that opportunity as well if we can. That's funny, Seattle Pride totally just snuck right in there because I've been watching this stuff pretty closely. But that's also like very reflective of the pandemic year that we've had, right? That everything was paused or not paused. And as we're unpausing, it's like in this funny little start-stop motion. So Definitely.
I do see on Seattle Pride's event page, they are marketing the Power Connect that is taking place in 5 days.
That is definitely a thing, and we're super glad. That's probably from our existing GSBA partnership, not necessarily knowing exactly what's happening for an event with Seattle Pride. Awesome. Other comments, questions around Pride and Pride events? I know Alki Pride is happening in August, like 14th and 15th. That's not Capitol Hill, but it's another Pride celebration that should be pretty rad. I think $3 Bill Cinema is participating and doing some programming there, and they've got permission. I think they got permitted to close the street, so it'll be fun. We are going to be running up on time here in a couple minutes. Did anybody else want to put an issue on our radar, or a comment or a question that you'd like us to be aware of?
Just a quick thought. Maybe, I mean, as we're talking about these different topics and things are coming to light that, you know, we feel well suited to follow up on and approach, what would you suggest for the folks that have been so kind as to join and participate here today? So like, how can we best follow up with people, like join an email list and get updates, or if they want if they want to follow up on something? Linda, I saw you put your contact in the chat, which is awesome. And Ahi, obviously yours is right there, which is great. But just wondering, just putting on my participant hat for a second and thinking, yeah, how should we, you know, like, okay, so what happened to all those things we talked about? I'd love to be able to keep people in the loop as we move forward with doing things.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Danny, for bringing that up. So like getting on our mailing list is gonna definitely be helpful, because currently like the infrastructure is that we have like our newsletter following along on our Facebook. Part of the CHBA being sort of a nascent program and only having like a year and a half under its belt is like CHBA hasn't quite learned what the best streams of communication are. So of course, always reach out to me. You have my info. I am here to facilitate these conversations and also follow along on the existing streams. So social media, particularly our Facebook, and then get on our mailing list for our newsletter. Our newsletter, I'm super proud to say we've gotten out 3 consecutive months in a row now. So that's super exciting. And just like another example of the ball rolling a little bit out of pandemic reactivity. And yeah, as comfortable as the advisory board is connecting with folks one-on-one, feel free to reach out to them, but I'm gonna be your main point of contact for sure. And it's exactly my job to make sure that this type of information makes it to our newsletter or makes it back to you. And also like in terms of getting to know members and getting to know your businesses and things, you know, one of the things that we will continue to do in the coming months is come out and take pictures with you folks, or get video reels, or to highlight, you know, what kinds of things are happening on Capitol Hill. I just looked at the clock. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have to like read the final things to make sure we get all the final things in. So I'm gonna skip that part because it's a little canned, but please make sure that you come to our next community conversation. That's another way to see like, hey, are they doing anything about these things? Come to our community conversations. They do alternate times because we're trying to make them accessible to businesses that operate in different day parts. So our next one, the community conversations will happen every 3rd Thursday of the month. I know this is the 4th Thursday of this month. But moving forward, they'll be the 3rd Thursday of the month. The next one will be at 4 p.m. versus 10 a.m. and then September 10 a.m. If Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to launch Hill Talk in person in September or October. That community conversation won't happen. We'll just focus on having a cool in-person event. That's Hill Talk. So like I said, follow along. We'll do our very best to keep you all updated about what's going on. If you are joining for the first time, we encourage you to become part of Capitol Hill Small Business Chamber of Commerce. So just click onto that website. And again, as a business on Capitol Hill, you receive the benefits of both CHBA and the overarching GSBA chamber with just a single membership. And you can just go to thegsba.org to find out more about that. So I just want to, again, thank you all so much for your time and for this conversation. It's so valuable to hear from you folks, advisory board members. Thank you for your perspective and sharing your experiences and just your knowledge. I'm really, really fortunate to have such an incredible team of people helping to kind of knit the Capitol Hill network together. So I look forward to working together in community with all of you moving forward, and please tune into our next segment. We'll see you later.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.